myself, Karthik Sharma, on behalf of Maharashtra Maritime Board and Elets Media and all our partners in India Port Summit, I welcome you on board. In August 2014, Honorable Prime Minister of India, Mr. Narendra Modi stated that development of port is essential to promote exports from India and take the Make in India brand global. In the lines of the vision of Honorable Prime Minister, Maharashtra Maritime Board, Government of Maharashtra, along with Elets Technomedia, is organizing India Port Summit 2015. The event will focus on the various aspects of a port-led development and development of industries in and around port areas. We are glad to have eminent dignitaries for the inaugural session of India Port Summit, and very gladly I welcome our eminent guests on stage. I'll start with respected Additional Chief Secretary of Department of Transports and Ports, Government of Maharashtra, Mr. Gautam Chatterjee. Sir, I welcome you on stage, please. A round of applause for Mr. Chatterjee. He has been a guiding force for this India Port Summit. I invite Mr. K.P. Bakshi, Additional Chief Secretary, Home Department, Government of Maharashtra, to please join us on stage. A round of applause for Mr. Bakshi. Mr. Ravi M. Parmar, Chairman of Mumbai Port Trust. Sir, I welcome you on stage and with a round of applause. We welcome Mr. Neeraj Bansal, Deputy Chairman of Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust. A round of applause for Mr. Neeraj Bansal, please. We also welcome Mr. T. Balasubramanian, Member Finance and Chairman in Charge, Tariff Authority of Major Ports, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India. Warm welcome and a round of applause for sir, please. I request our guest from Gujarat, Mr. Kalpesh Mitlani, CGM IT, Chief General Manager of Information Technology, Gujarat Maritime Board, to please join us on stage. I also welcome Mr. I welcome Captain B.V. J.K. Sharma, Joint Managing Director, JSW, to please join us on stage, sir. I request my team to put 3 more chairs on stage. Mr. Vineet Goenka, Member Task Force IT, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India, joining us in next 5 minutes. And the same with Mr. Vijay Kalantri, Chairman of the Board. I request Dr. Ravi Gupta, CEO of Elets Media, to please welcome our guest with a bouquet. Take the bouquets from the table and please keep them aside. Before we move on, I would like to take only 2 minutes to introduce you all with Elets and its operations and in India and abroad. Small presentation of 2 minutes. Elets is about ICTs, ideas and innovations for nation building. Our background is that we started in 1997 and we are one of the leading institutions working in ICT advocacy in development sector in various verticals: education, governance, healthcare, financial inclusion, BFSI, as well as infrastructure. profile varies from government sector to private sector and to various civil societies and development sector. Our initiative, we provide knowledge sharing platforms to discuss latest trends, emerging technologies and collaboration opportunities through print, digital and a face-to-face initiative. You can see publications, knowledge portals, summits and awards and expos. Please welcome Mr. Vineet Goenka, Member Task Force IT, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India with a round of applause. I request my colleague Rachita ji to please welcome Mr. Goenka with the bouquet. Rachita Jha, Head of Mumbai Division of Elets Media. Thank you. So, as I was introducing you about elets, our publications are e-gov, digital learning, e-health and banking and finance post. And today we are also launching the courts portal. Portals, we have around 1,50,000 social media fans and 2,50,000 visitors per month online. These are our online links, the URLs of our online portals. We do summits, we catalyze partnerships and collaborations at various levels. These are some glimpses of some of our summits. We did E-India with then Chief Minister and today's Prime Minister Honorable Shri Narendra Modi, and various countries, various states we have done national and international events. We did summits in South Asia with Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Malaysia and various other countries. We organize awards as well to recognize exemplary work in various sectors. We organize expos as well. You can see today as well besides. This is our presence, global presence in various countries as well as the Asian countries, African countries and Europe. These are some of our events across the nation. E-Asia pictures. We were honored to have the commemorative postage stamp was released on the occasion of E-Asia at Dhaka, Bangladesh. It was released by then Prime Minister Srimati Sheikh Hasina, and a stamp was released on our event E-Asia. These are pictures of the event in Sri Lanka with President of Sri Lanka. Asia. We have worked with China, UK, Abu Dhabi, Greece, European Union and Africa. Some key projects in governance, capacity building, restructuring of Survey of India and capacity building with, we have done these projects with IT Ministry in the Government of India as well as Survey of India Department. Key projects in education, we have worked with HRD Ministry on national policy of on ICT in school education. Key projects in healthcare, we have worked with World Health Organization and various other key organizations in health sector. Key projects in innovation, you can see Gram Charitra, Community GIS and Water Voice for Innovation Program. We have worked on such major issues. We have some international partners from last 10 years. You can see the names. Some government partners, various state governments have partnered with us in various state events. These are some PSUs, government departments, some corporate partners you can see on screen. These are some PSU partners, banking partners, academic partners. So please get in touch with us at info@elets.in to spread your innovations and excellence, and please join hands. Thank you. So now I request Mr. Dr. Ravi Gupta for a quick welcome address for our eminent guests. Dr. Ravi Gupta. I request you, sir, to give a welcome address, please.
It's an honor to welcome all the dignitaries on leaders of the ports industry and the port ecosystem with us on the stage and also in the audience. And as you will see that we have sessions around maritime clusters, each of doing business. We have a session around creating multi-modal logistics corridor in maritime clusters, building smart cities ecosystem around ports, and a major focus is happening on the Sagar Mala program and the port security. So all these aspects are being covered in the whole day agenda. And we have eminent dignitary Shri Gautam Chatterjee, who is the ACS, Department of Transport and Ports, Government of Maharashtra with us, Shri K.P. Bakshi, who is the ACS for the Department of Home, Shri Veer Goenka, who is a member of the Task Force on IT, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India. Welcome, sir. And Ravi Parmarji, who is the Chairman of Mumbai Port Trust, Neeraj Bansalji, who is the Deputy Chairman of JNPT, Shri Kalpesh Tilani, who is the CGMIT, Gujarat Maritime Board, the Captain Sharma, who is the Joint MD of JSW, and Vijay Gandhi is arriving in some time. And we have Shri T.S. Bala Subramanian, who is a member of Finance and Chairman in charge Director Authority of Major Ports, Ministry of Shipping, Port of India with us. So I welcome all the dignitaries and name on the dais. I want to just say thank you all for being here and encouraging us for making this event happen. Karthik, may I invite you?
Thank you very much, sir. Before we move on to our first address, I request Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, Mr. K.P. Bakshi, Mr. Vineet Goenka, and all the dignitaries present on stage to light up the lamp for the formal inauguration of India Port Summit. Please, I request you all to light up the lamp. So, we have a very dynamic personality with us who is a very good speaker and a very good thinker as well as. And today we have a presentation from his side. I very gladly invite Mr. Vineet Goenka, Member Task Force IT, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India, for a presentation. A round of applause.
Good morning, everybody. In fact, I thought I'll be listening to all of you and getting enlightened and go back and enlightened from here. Nevertheless, dignitaries on the dais and friends sitting in the auditorium. It's a privilege to be here and quickly wrap up. It's a 5 minutes presentation. It's all about what we all know, so there's nothing which is new in this. What is new in this is only the last point which I'm going to make out, or which I'll start with, is why this task force is being made. The task force is being made with the chairmanship of Honorable Minister for Shipping, Road, Transport and Highway, Inaugural. Along with myself, I have Mohandas Pai, we have Girish Srivastav, Abhijit Desai and Prashant Paul. So it's a 5 non-government task force. Then we have GS Sports, we have many other people, Chairman, IPA, everybody is there in the task force. The entire task force mandate is very simple and one-liner. And actually I can stop after that and that can be. That mandate is simple. Leveraging IT for transparency, economy, speed and reach. That is the only mandate which is there for the same. Whatever I would speak is known to you all, so there is nothing big which we can expect, but what we are expecting is that if you can all, being stakeholders in this industry, help us to complete our mandate. Let us know what is there in your mind. My email can be actually taken from anybody here in the organization, or you can pick us up also there. I sit in the PTI building, so you can always stop in there if you want to meet. And we would like to know from each of you how we can leverage IT. If there's something, we have been talking about PCS and port community management or PMS or anything, but the whole idea is how we can automate that, how we can reduce the personal intervention, how we can make it a person-independent organization. Quickly going on this, as we all know, it's 90% of the trade volume comes from ports, then we the major ports of the small ports. So the value which comes to total exim is only 70%. The second pointer which is there today is, as major ports we only handle 58% of the cargo. When we were visiting ports as a task force member, when we actually went to various ports, the capacity was not utilized to this. Now, there can be reasons, there can be trade reasons, there can be reasons of performance, there can be reasons of planning. The entire idea about the task force is how do we use IT to enhance our planning, give a lead time to the maritime operational team, how we can help them out and increase this percentage from 58 to further above. Now the third point which I would like to discuss today morning is that there is a quantum jump of 8.2% over year to year from 2012 to 2013 to 2013-14 and then from 14 to 15. So what I see is a silver line on the horizon is that this government, the current leadership wants trade to come on the coast. It's a non-fact if we spend 100 rupees transportation on the road. I'm sure, I don't have exact figure. I'm sure railway will not be more than 70, 75. So it's cheaper to go on railway compared to road. But the moment we go on water, it comes drastically down to sort of 30, 35, not more than 35. So if you see as a logistic stakeholders, the cost of travel would be not even 1/3. And today, as a country, the total cost of logistics is tremendously high. So if you see the total GDP, this percentage of our cost of the GDP is on the logistics which can be saved. Now, if we can all come together today, come out the way that how do we migrate this total transportation which is there on the road to railway or to ports, and today being the subject of ports, how do we migrate this on the water? Probably the country can save something, and which will be grateful because good countries, good economies spend less on logistics. That's the value addition. The cost of a product is the cost of production plus the logistics, and if we can all come together to reduce that, probably generations to come will have a better economy to clear. I thought it appropriate to discuss even Sagarmala project. See, it is one simple thing, one liner which can define it. It's a port-led development structure. It can be directly with the port or indirectly with the port. Talk about infrastructure in the transport department. Sagarmala is talking about efficiency building within the ports, within the port reach, within the port city, around the port. If you see the total percentage of the GDP, which was contribution, you will be surprised that 9% of the total logistic and the participation in the GDP was 9%. Right? Road took away almost around 6%. It becomes imperative and it becomes necessary to discuss today contributing to 1% of GDP, whereas the total cost is a daily cost. We are into a trust mode. We cannot talk about ROI and becoming profitable. But we have to think about this is a public money. We have to discuss how to enhance the efficiency. And this 1% contribution has to certainly go up. See, we are fortunate that the Prime Minister has announced Make in India initiative. There are other initiatives which will help us. Can we reduce the logistic cost going inside the port and coming outside the port with the use of IT? Today, once the cargo is decided that the cargo would let on the ship or vessel, the total time which takes from the gate, entry of the gate, to actual loading or to the unloading the vehicle and the cargo coming out of the port, probably that is something which we all can work out, and here IT can play a major role. Once again, I would say that in case you have thoughts, you know the projects, or you have seen some operations around the world, which are a good case study to be taken up by this task force, I will be happy to listen to that. The entire aim is to connect main economic centers beyond their expansions, and the port should be connected with rail, road, and there should be seamless connectivity for the cargo to move in and out of the port. What we see most of the time so I thought it will be appropriate to discuss one particular case study which we are going through is the cost of travel. Can somebody help me on something? Okay. So we took up a case of cotton. Coimbatore region is a fantastic place where the cotton is being processed, and they take this cotton from Gujarat. And if you see this, the road charges is somewhere around 865 rupees, which they pay per bale. And the moment it goes through by Indian shipping vessels, it is 672 rupees, a clear-cut saving of almost around 180 rupees per bale. The total volume can be calculated. I don't have a data which is total volume, but you can understand what is the total cost and saving. And we can connect Kandla to Tuticorin, or we can connect Kandla with Indore, and that will save us a lot of pollution, on the road accidents, and also a benefit to the stakeholder there. So the per kg costing is a huge difference if you see. It's almost around 135 paisa, which is not less than, which is actually a part of the entire cost process. And here the point which we are talking about, reducing the cost of logistics in actual GDP will be achieved. Now this one particular case, you can just multiply and magnitude this with other products. This was one case because I was involved in this case study. There may be various other ways. Now how do we do this? This cannot be always done only by the ports or the maritime ports which are there, by connecting this. But here comes another thing which I think the minister is quite passionate about, the inland waterways. Now if we have to go through this history of the latest, almost 7,500 kilometers of coastline. We had the first propelled vessel which went on 1823. It did not survive for more than 50 years, the Indian waterways. By the time GIPR came, the Great Indian Peninsular Railway came, the Britishers thought it was fruitful, or it was making economic sense for them to migrate from inland waterways to railways. And by that time, 1860, they started killing the inland waterways. Fortunately, the current government has put a lot of trust, and if you go to the website of shipping ministry, you will see a lot of opportunities coming in waterways. Ports or inland waterways, they have to be again connected with connectivity to the industry. That will lead connected roads, seamless movement of cargo, seamless movement of personnel on this particular inland waterways or the coastlines which we are, the major ports or the minor ports. Now, how do we intend to have the private participation? Funds are needed, naturally, there is a shortage of funds, so private participation is required. There are avenues where the government has allowed 100% of FDI, that will also give us a boost. There is a one window system. The minister is quite accessible, I think it's very, very positive about what he is. And the stakeholders is the most vibrant minister which I would have at least seen in the last couple of years. presents us a lot of opportunity to invest in this, in all the three areas, be it the ports, maritime ports, or the inland waterways. Friends, I thought I'll keep this very short so that we can have time to interact later on once we are out of the panel discussion or the inaugural session. I'm trying to take this liberty. Yesterday, myself and Mohandas Bhai, we both were sitting in the lead discussing that while we plan and while we try to write what is good for the ports, we should actually interact with the stakeholders. Writing it in silo will not make a sense. If I write what are these servers, what are these speed, what are the software we use, probably that will be good from my point of view. So it's not IT for the ports, right? It is not code for the IT. It should be IT for ports. So that's the whole idea. The exercise of coming here, interacting with you is if you can all help us enlighten your needs. Tell us if you have some good case studies, best practices across the globe. I'll be more than happy to accept them, but put them as a part of my study which I'm going to submit in the next month to the government of India. I would like to thank organizers and everybody who are present here to give your patience hearing for the last few minutes. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Goenka, for throwing light on ideas and initiatives of Task Force, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India. Before we move on to the next address, we would like to showcase and can say that we would like to launch the e-magazine of eGov's Ports Special Issue, and that will be on the Ports portal of our organization, which is ports.eletsonline.com. So I request my team to please show the e-magazine of eGov issue, Ports Special Issue of eGov magazine. There we have covered various initiatives and achievements in the port sector, Maharashtra as well as across the nation. Thank you very much, and we'll share the link of this e-magazine with all of you. And just to tell you that we also have the interview of Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, who is the Chief Secretary, Department of Transport and Ports, Government of Maharashtra, in this special issue. And I hope you will be informed. You will get a lot of good information and inspiration while reading that interview. So now I invite our very special guest and inspiration for all of us from long time. One of the senior most officers in Government of Maharashtra, Mr. K.P. Bakshi, Additional Chief Secretary, Home Department, Government of Maharashtra, Foreign Affairs. A round of applause for Mr. Bakshi.
Good morning and welcome to Mumbai in the India Port Summit 2015. As you must be knowing, I have a very limited role in port development. I limit my talk to only Maharashtra because I can talk about security of the ports, the coastal security, entire coastal security of 720 kilometers. But before going to security aspects, I would like to touch upon some other important issues for port development in Maharashtra. From my experience, I can tell you that Maharashtra state ports, which have been thrown open for development by the private investors, have gone through different phases. The first phase was when the Maritime Board decided that we will privatize Maharashtra ports. That time the perception of the government was that once you invite the private investors, there will be a lot of takers and there will be huge competition. People may pay you money for taking up ports. Therefore, the policies that were framed those days were very tough. In today's scenario, if you see those policies, then I think they are very tough and they are not investor friendly. Policies need to change, need to be looked into every 5 years, and corrections have to be made. Unfortunately, the same policy continues till today, and therefore many investors who wish to invest and many who have invested both are very careful in coming to Maharashtra. What are the reasons? I can give you a few reasons and a few solutions. First reason is that traffic coming from the north gets captured in Gujarat to the maximum extent because of the distance, because of the proximity, and because of the services that are available. Ports like Kandla, Adani Port, Maritime Board ports, they don't have the patience, they don't have the time, and they don't get the services in Maharashtra ports. Therefore, the entire traffic of north gets captured by Gujarat ports and to some extent by Mumbai and JNPT ports. If you have to develop these state ports, then 4 things are very, very, very important. What is the first one? First one is the connectivity of Maharashtra ports, state ports. Connectivity to the nearest national highway, expressway. Second, development of the multi-modal corridor, about which we have been talking for some years now. Third, the DMIC, Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor. And fourth, the coastal road that we are now talking about. If you do not have these 4 things in place, and very soon, it is difficult for Maharashtra ports to take off and compete with other ports. Let's take up the connectivity. In connectivity, there was a policy, the present policy says that the connectivity to the national highway is the responsibility of the investor. Now the investor many investors have invested, they come with this logic that if I do the connectivity today, it's only my traffic which is going. There is no other traffic coming there. So I only pay for whatever you are saying that the toll collection will be sufficient for recovering the investment is not true. Because only it's my traffic and some little traffic from outside. So do I develop that port first or I do the connectivity? Therefore, do not put the responsibility of connectivity on us. Even though the policy is there, please change the policy. This is what the argument is. In this context, let me tell you that Maharashtra government appointed a committee under Dr. Vijay Kelkar to look into the reasons for imbalanced development between the 3 or 4 important regions of Maharashtra. Vidarbha on one side, Marathwada, Western Maharashtra, and Konkan in particular. This committee worked for about 2 years. I was the member secretary as planning secretary of Maharashtra. I was associated with this committee for almost 1.5 years. Mr. Kunte was there for the first 6 months or 9 months. Then I took over and I helped the committee in finalizing the report. In this committee, the committee has suggested what measures should be taken to make sure that Vidarbha, Maharashtra, that is Marathwada, rest of Maharashtra including Konkan, how they can develop at the same pace. If you see the report which is available on mahasdb.maharashtra.gov.in, on the right hand side you will find the report. If you see the port development chapter, it's very clearly mentioned that now is the time to take up connectivity from state side, whether it is by the center or by the state government, but do not put the responsibility of development of connectivity on the investor, because the investor is concentrating on port development and traffic so that he can reduce his investment and financial burden. He can't be asked to connect. There are 22 connectors in Maharashtra which are required, but at least in phases we can take up the connections. This is very clearly mentioned, and the entire estimate has been given in the report. What is the total estimate for completing all these 22 connectors even before the private investors come? That is first thing that should be done, and it is doable because the money required is not much. Luckily, there are two very good coincidences for the state of Maharashtra. One, Mr. Gadkari is from Maharashtra and he is heading the right department. He knows the entire state. He has experience of PWD in Maharashtra, and it's not a new minister from outside who has to understand, he knows everything. That is first good coincidence, and he also is heading the shipping ministry. Second good coincidence is that the railway minister is also from Maharashtra. Therefore, both the issues of road connectivity and rail connectivity, rail sidings, both the issues can be taken up by the departments as well as by the investors very, very vigorously, and I think it's easy now than ever to get the connectivity, whether rail connectivity or road connectivity of state ports in Maharashtra done. This is the first point, that is the easiest that is possible to do. Second is DMIC. Now DMIC has already taken off the important areas falling in Nashik and Aurangabad. It will extend up to Raigad also. So entire work has started and it is going with good speed. So you can expect that the corridor will be in place in a very short time. Third is the coastal road, which has been taken up by the state government at the highest level. That is also now going to see the light of the day. Only one thing which is not got the attention of the central government is the multi-modal corridor. That has to be taken up by all of you at the government level. Government of Maharashtra cannot alone take up this big project because huge financial responsibilities, financial implications are there. So if all prominent investors, prominent people in the shipping industry and the government officials, they take it up with the government of India, then the fourth important thing for Maharashtra port development will also be in place. The most important thing from my point of view today as Home Secretary is coastal security and port security. We have been telling the ports which are in position that please do not limit yourself to ISPS, because Maharashtra is very vulnerable. So the security should be ISPS plus. And we are able to, we have an organization here called the Maharashtra State Security Corporation, which is giving excellent security as compared to CISF. CISF will cost you about 40,000 per person, whereas State Security Corporation person who is as good as police will give you, we can give you by just taking 20,000 rupees a month. So it is half the cost. So what is required to be done? Each existing port has to get in touch with the MSSC and get a security audit done. This security audit is likely to be a little more than ISPS plus. Therefore, you ask for the security and we will give you any number of security personnel right across. 720 kilometers. This is the first most important thing, that security audit of all these places must be done. Second, with the help of Government of India, we have now stepped up the coastal security. Coastal security, we will have about 44 police stations across Maharashtra. These police stations have got a jurisdiction which is defined, therefore the ports will also be covered. I would urge upon those investors who are there that if you can, or if you wish, we can locate the police station close to the port premises if you are coming for development, so that you can be rest assured that your security, your private security plus the police station will give you enough security for operation of the port. This is the fifth and the most important. We have a session in the afternoon in which people will be talking about port security and security of entire coastal area 720. The Sagarmala project I have been hearing for the last 15 years. Every government comes and they talk about Sagarmala and something goes wrong and it doesn't take place. But as rightly pointed out by Mr. Goenka, that in case this project is given impetus and we are able to have that mala in place, then traffic will go up, costs will come down, and hinterland development will get a boost. Economic development of the hinterland will get a boost. Therefore, that has to be kept in mind, and at the highest level, one must try to make sure that the policies of the state government and policies of the central government, they match and they supplement each other, so that we take up the development of the ports in Maharashtra. With these few words, I would like to thank Mr. Ravi Gupta and his colleagues, and thank you all for listening to me, and thank the colleagues on the dais who have listened to me patiently and given me a chance to talk to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir, for your inspirational words and highlighting how Government of Maharashtra is looking towards port security and how port-led development in Sagarmala projects can benefit the state as well as the country. Thank you very much. And now it's time for us to listen to one of the people who are giving great leadership in this sector, the port sector, and another very senior officer of Government of Maharashtra, a guiding force for this event, a pool of knowledge who has been for preparing the agenda of this event. I am very glad to invite Mr. Gautam Chatterjee, Additional Chief Secretary, Department of Transport and Ports, Government of Maharashtra, to please address. A round of applause for Mr. Chatterjee, please.
Compliment elets for bringing all of us together under one roof. And it gives me great pleasure to find all the dignitaries from this sector, people from this maritime logistics sector, assemble here and deliberate on a host of issues which have been lined up by elets in the course of the day. The theme for today's summit is, of course, unlocking growth potential of port-led development. and to look into what are the opportunities and the challenges when we talk about that. At the outset, I feel that while we feel that there are opportunities gathered, it also is a fact that the challenges are competing with those opportunities, which means that the challenges are also maybe equal in number, if not more. So while we talk about how do we unlock the growth potential, the latent thing that is there, how do we take it out, we have to keep in mind at every stage how those challenges have to be met. Now we all know that world over, generation of cargo and consumption of cargo are distantly separated. They are at different places. And basically, it is the logistics sector that bridges that gap, brings the cargo from the cargo generators to the consumption level for the people who have to take for the destination of that cargo. And while we talk about the logistics sector bridging this gap, as Mr. Goenka pointed out, we all know that 90% of this movement of the cargo takes place through water transport. While that is true when we talk about EXIM cargo, on the domestic side, unfortunately in our country, this percentage of movement of domestic cargo from the generators to the place where they will be consumed is only 6% that our water transport contributes to this movement of the cargo, which is abysmally low. And when we compare to some other countries which also have a huge network of inland waterways, this percentage is just not acceptable. Now, Sagarmala program and the current thinking in the Ministry of Shipping continuously has been pointing out to this very low percentage of movement of goods through inland waterways and through coastal shipping. And there are now efforts to see how this modal shift can take place from the good 58-60% which moves by road and 30-odd% which moves by rail. How much amount of modal shift can be taken out from these sectors onto the coastal waterway and the inland waterway. Now, time and over again we have been talking about that this doesn't happen, modal shift doesn't happen, in spite of the fact that water transport is cheap, as again pointed out by our friend from the ministry. It is environment friendly, it is the safest, all those qualities are there in water transport, but still it doesn't happen. Right? It doesn't happen maybe because the generators of the cargo still feel that the goods move seamlessly in a better manner, in a more reliable manner when it moves through water transport, moves through road transport or rail transport. So one has to look at those challenges as to how do we prevail upon the generators of the cargo to hand over their goods to a logistics person who will take it through the waterway. Majority of the movement should take place through the water leg and not the road leg. Now these are the issues which have been deliberated, are being discussed. Sagarmala has been going into very details of this. Does it require some amount of subsidy to do this modal shift? Does it require some amount of other tying up of loose ends so that the seamless movement from one sector of logistics to move into the water transport can take place easily? Will be issues certainly that will be deliberated also in the course of the day's deliberations. When we talk about a port, then obviously we talk about the water side of having the proper draft. So what is involved in the getting the proper draft to dredge bring it to the level of the draft that is required for getting ships of proper dimension and size, the proper port infrastructure, and most importantly, of course, the interland connectivity, and also the skill set of the people who are working in that port. All these four aspects become very, very important. Now, as my friend Bakshi pointed out, that the initial thinking when we were trying to open up the port sector in the thinking was that on all these four fronts of having proper dredged water side, proper port infrastructure, skill set and hinterland connectivity, everything should be passed on to the private player. And what government will give is only the waterfront, an undeveloped waterfront which has to be developed into a port and linked through our hinterland connectivity to the destination. Now this thinking continued, and one felt that by just offering the waterfront will be a huge number of players who will come in and actually grab the opportunity and go ahead. But then alas, that did not happen. We have few of the players who are also present here. Sharma is here, Mr. Kalantari may come. So Dighi Port, Jaigarh Port, these are the ports which have come up. But in a 720-kilometer stretch, I thought that we should have had by now ports at every 60-70 kilometers, because that is what is a sustainable port. That has not happened. We have two major ports, both the major ports and representatives are here. But when it comes to non-major ports, we could not do that. And therefore, with extensive discussion with stakeholders today, we are coming up very shortly with the new port policy, which will actually say that it is not that we only offer you the waterfront. It will say that we would like to become active stakeholders in the development of the ports. The Maharashtra Maritime Board, which is the government arm in this direction, will actually join hands in various SPVs that will be created for hinterland connectivity. It is already happening. The hinterland connectivity for Jaigarh ports, Maharashtra Maritime Board is a stakeholder in the rail connectivity that will come up. So we are also further talking to the industries department. We feel that the cargo generators, the industries, cannot stop only at creating the cargo and handing it over to the logistics sector. They should also become stakeholders in the logistics sector. So we feel that it is not only the port operators who should become stakeholders in the hinterland connectivity, it should also be the industries department, who are the cargo generators, who should join hands. So we will be talking to the Maharashtra Industrial Development Corporation and requesting them to pick up stakes in the various SPVs that we will create for hinterland connectivity of these ports. Now these are the thinkings which are also going on, I told, in Gujarat. Maharashtra would certainly like to emulate these good thought processes which are there in Gujarat. Certain other things which will also link up to the seamless movement when you connect the port connectivity onto the main line. Then we have, as you mentioned, the DMIC. We also have the dedicated freight corridor which is coming up. So while we have the north-south connectivity, we will also have this from the port to the north-side connectivity of the DMIC or the DFC or the various other things which are coming up through government intervention. So we will have the government playing a major role in creating the north-south connectivity. We will have government becoming a stakeholder through its industrial arm, through its maritime board arm, with the private sector to create the east-west connectivity from the port onto the mainland connectivity. So basically these seamless connectivities would be important when we talk about how modal shift can take place. I am sure in the course of the day, the challenges which are preventing this modal shift will get deliberated. The other main challenge, which in fact can be tackled to a large extent with the use of IT and e-governance and digital India, is how do we simplify the various procedures which brings in the ease of doing business. Now that is another issue which has been talked about, but then somehow on the ground I think a lot of changes are still required. We in the Maharashtra government, through the Maharashtra Maritime Board, would like to actually see how, when a person comes forward to the Maharashtra Maritime Board, not only Maharashtra Maritime Board joins hand and becoming stakeholders in issues like hinterland connectivity, but also for the various clearances that one requires from the Environment and Forest Department, from the Revenue Department as regards lands are concerned. We would feel that rather than asking you to go to 10 departments to get clearances and then come to the Maharashtra Maritime Board, Maharashtra Maritime Board itself will take upon itself to get those clearances on behalf of the Maharashtra government, or for that matter, the government of India. These are, I think, small steps, baby steps maybe, but then certainly will help in ease of doing business, and making procedures simpler. So these are some of the points which, in fact, in the inaugural session, I thought I'll just flag so that in the course of the day, these would get discussed, and many more ideas which will certainly come in because all the important stakeholders are here. And at the end of the session, whatever are the takeaways that would certainly be passed on to me by the elets, and we will certainly take it forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing the insights of activities and especially the board policy that Government of Maharashtra is coming up. And also we assure you that after all the deliberations and discussions throughout the day, we will create a report of takeaways and recommendations, and we'll definitely share with you, sir. Thank you very much. And then now we move on to the next address. A very important stakeholder in the board's vertical. I am glad to invite Mr. Neeraj Bansal, Deputy Chairman of Jawaharlal Nehru Board Trust, for an address. Please welcome him with a round of applause.
Respected Governor Deputy Sahab, Bakshi Sahab, Balasubramanian Sahab, Ravi Kumar Sahab, Sharma ji, Goenka Sahab, friend from Gujarat. My friends, good morning. It's always a privilege to be associated with the stakeholders to talk about maritime sector, and I'm privileged to be part of this seminar where we are talking about India Port Summit. Various issues, various challenges which maritime sector is facing, and this is a high time when each one of us as a responsible stakeholder has to contribute. With this new government, a new change has happened, that port has been given its due importance and has been designated a role of growth engine. When we talk about port-led development, it means port have to be very efficient and very economical in providing much relief to the EXIM and the domestic industry so that we become globally more competitive to bring the cost down. And in this process, our Honorable Minister, Shri Nitin Gadkari, and Honorable Prime Minister has taken huge interest in giving this prime importance to the port sector. And a lot of initiatives have been taken. You all are very familiar with this maritime sector, much more than me, and you have seen much more years in this maritime sector. You might have seen how much swiftness, what kind of changes in policy and procedures have been brought in. One of the biggest initiatives of this government is Sagarmala project. When we talk about Sagarmala project, we mean a very modern port, very efficient, having good evacuation capacity, connection with the hinterland, and then in future developing more economic clusters which are in and around this port area to create more value for the trade. If we look back, there were a lot of challenges in this Sagarmala project because lot many policy issues, and state and center used to work in a different manners. That's why we have very haphazard development of the port, maritime ports going on their own way, and major ports coming in their own way. A huge change recently, JN Port, central government and Maharashtra Maritime Board have inked a deal where we'll be setting up a natural drafted 20 feet natural drafted port at Vadhavan. Thank you very much, sir, for the cooperation, for the help extended by Maharashtra government with this. So we are looking at a new change, new regime in the port sector, and obviously we all have a responsibility to carry it forward. When the role of JNPT comes in this whole program of Sagarmala Make in India, I'd like to share a few new initiatives which have been taken by JNPT and the central government in that respect. So recently, the Government of India, Ministry of Shipping has taken two initiatives. One is they have hired or engaged Boston Consulting Group trade can be assured in the coming days. We are competing with the international ports so that exit trade or domestic trade India doesn't suffer. And secondly, sir, master planning work has been assigned to the McKinsey so that there is no deficiency in the seaside development and the landside development. And there is a proper planning. Whenever I am going for the capacity addition, I have to correspondingly add to the water side, land side, more capacity so that both matches are converged at one point. So these two initiatives, I think, will take these major ports' performance at par with the non-major ports, and we can be globally competitive also. Sir, you will be aware that JNPT keep on facing a lot of challenges, and this year, in the month of July, that was the first year when we were performing at the enhanced capacity, or we should say without any trouble. In the month of July, we achieved a throughput of around 4 lakh TEUs. So that translated to, if I work out annually, that comes to 48 lakh TEUs. While presently I am dealing at 4.47. So that's a change in the handling or efficiency at the JN port. When I look at my own terminal, I'll be happy to share this aspect. So in the month of July, we have achieved the record throughput of 1,32,000 TEUs, which is the highest ever in the 26-year history of JNPT. So these changes are there where we are pitching for more efficiency in operations. Obviously, when I have efficiency in operation, the cost benefit flows back to the industry. Few major capacity addition projects are coming up in the next few years. By June 2016, we'll be having 330-meter terminal coming up, which will add a capacity of 0.8 million at the JNPT. This is a project done by DP World with an investment of 700 crore rupees. In the next 7 years, we will double our capacity. Port of Singapore is investing almost 8,000 crore rupees and will be handling more than 10 million TEUs at JNPT by 2022-23. On procedure part, as IT initiative, few things have been done at JNPT. We have eliminated form number 13 and 11. Earlier there used to be hard copies which used to be handed to the gates. Now all is web-based. This is the first step towards RFID implementation where trucks will move seamlessly. So that's one success we have achieved in doing it. Secondly, e-delivery orders, we have started the process where shipping lines will be delivering the orders electronically, no hard copy exchange. Thirdly, to bring in more transparency, we are providing links of various services, CFSAs, CHAs, shipping lines at our own website so that the trade is assured what kind of posting it will be when they meet in JNPT. Recently, sir, we have done away with pre-berthing meetings. It's online berthing now, so somebody can apply, no human intervention. So e-berthing has been started. Recently on liquid terminal, we have slashed the allotted windows by 2.5 hours, where the documentation timing, which we used to allow earlier, has been slashed by 2.5 hours. More things will follow. A new initiative that the JNPT has taken, we have started meeting with the customer. Recently, we sent a team to Ghana and Chandigarh, where we directly interacted with the importer exporters to judge the mood and to listen to their grievances. Two issues which have come up very clearly are that trade needs certainty in cost, and secondly, certainty in timing of delivery. Unless port achieves these two motives, where I assure trade that if you deal with JNPT, a box will cost you this much, and box will be delivered at your home in these many days, I think I will not be doing justice with the vision of Honorable Minister and the Honorable Prime Minister. Port is working in these two areas, and any suggestion from the stakeholders where I can cut corners, where I can improve efficiency, where it can be easier or smoother way of dealing with me or with the port will be really happy. As an infrastructure handler, it's our duty to give comfort, maximum comfort to the industry Maharashtra, because there are not many clusters, industrial clusters in Maharashtra which needs a better port connectivity. For that, a lot number of projects are in the offing. We are working on those, whether the DFCC, whether it's the 6-8 lane corridor. Port is conscious, we are working on those. Hopefully these problem of congestion will be sorted out with new initiative. I'm really glad that in this whole day we'll be discussing various aspects which can help in creating a seamless movement of cargo from port to the hinterland and from hinterland to the port sector, and can really help in generating value for the economy. So look forward, any suggestion kindly forward to us, and I congratulate Mr. Ravi Gupta and his team organizing this for this brainstorming. Obviously, when all sit together, the better solution we can find out. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bansal. And definitely your point which you have raised, whether it is about seamless movement of cargo or putting in more efficiency in the processes and operations of ports, I think after various sessions which are covering the major points and major issues coming up in the port sector, and after that there will be some solutions of some issues might have been coming, and definitely we will record them and we will document them and share with all of you. So now it's time for me to call up an organization which is from long time contributing a lot to the success of economy, the port's economy, and it's my pleasure to invite Captain P.V.J.K. Sharma, the Joint Managing Director of JSW. Please welcome him with a round of applause, Captain Sharma.
As you all have heard many speakers ahead of us, there is enough going on at the moment, but we have a lot to do and a long way to travel. But I would use this occasion to recall upon how we were particularly helped by Shri Bakshi. Sir, back in 2016, I had approached you remember? Sorry, 2006 I approached you, where you did mention the same thing that you were saying, that the policy is difficult but try and attempt. And we attempted doing this Jaigarh port. And during that time I was developing the Goa port, Mr. Inaugural sitting here. And it was the real music that time to hear from the government of Maharashtra, the encouraging words that we heard, and that prompted us actually. Goa had its own challenges when we were developing that port, and within the Goa there is a different atmosphere. And when I saw the atmosphere at Ratnagiri and the Konkan region, it has thrown a different challenge. But there was ample support from the government, and today Jaigarh port is servicing Cape-side vessels, and we have upgraded ourselves to see that how we can handle the largest bulk carrier of the world, which is called Valemax. We have raised the port now from 7 meters to 20 meters, and we are servicing these 2 lakh tonners. But we are not too far off in a particular business case where we will start bringing the Valemaxes, which are 4 lakh tonners. We are also developing an LNG terminal there in the regas business along with partners, and there is a larger vessel in LNG class which is called QMax, and we will be berthing that vessel alongside Jaeger in 4 years' time. While we were looking at Valemax, we looked at the possibility of berthing the large crude carriers alongside, and we have now simulated in UK HR Milling Code. I have seen that it's possible to service these VLCCs alongside, otherwise West Coast has this challenge of that weather, and SBMs have some downtime, but if you service those vessels alongside, probably, sir, we can support a 50 million refinery in the interline. There is a need for BPCL and HPCL to shift out of Mumbai because of the threat perspective. Another perspective is the land value itself, which entices them to look at other possible ports. So idea is to compete with JNPT and MPT and beat them in the volumes. And we are not too far off in our efforts. So it's a big task, but on the dry bulk side, we are also trying to develop a 40 million dry bulk terminal and a container terminal which will service even the larger vessels because of the draft, but to become a gateway port, it will take longer time. We are thinking of feedering it, but there are some disadvantages in Bombay which will become an opportunity for me, especially the cost of transaction and the cost of building capacities within the existing major ports, wherein an example that Bansal may not like, but 9,000 crores we are spending in the PSA berths, wherein I can put up a terminal in 500 crores. Now comes that whether we can challenge the real JNPT is difficult, but we should think about it and keep working. And so Gautam Chatterjee has spelled out the next course of action that the Maritime Board will take, and I'm happy to say that they have taken in our Jayagat Digni rail connectivity 11% equity, and the Indian Railways have taken 26% equity, remaining 63% we are investing, and we hope to flag off the first train by June 18, for which the company SPD has been formed. We are capitalizing it, we are privately purchasing the land, and trying to see that the longest lead, which is the tunnel, with about 18 kilometers tunnels are there out of the 34 kilometer rail line, we start by December. On the road connectivity, sir, which is a challenge because of a particular clause in the maritime concession that government of Maharashtra provides. It's read in a particular manner, but a private developer needs to connect it to the nearest public road, and to that extent we have connected it, but a long pending issue was resolved very quickly by the current government and intervention of Sri Gautam Chatterjee. And on the road connectivity front, the road has been handed over by PWD to Maritime Board and Maritime Board to us, and we have taken up that connectivity as well. While we are developing this railway, we are also working on a right of way for a possible pipeline corridor. We are also examining that whether iron ore can be carried through the pipeline too, and can we pump it all the way to 400-500 kilometer distances. While LNG requires a right of way for the gas business, the crude oil refinery which we are talking about, at least a 20,000 crore investment is seen in the region, where probably we can cut off a 6,000 crore capex out of that. by giving them the crude oil tanks, the berths, the power that is required, because we have a port-based power plant. They will need water, they will need oxygen. So there is a possibility of co-development of a refinery in that region. And that calls for a pipeline corridor for crude oil and a BOL. While Sagarmala is promoting, and today's theme is the port-led development, so we are shifting gears from port development to port-led development, and which is going to happen. I am now a firm believer of Sagarmala, and I'm sure that the way Center and Maharashtra state is driving it, it would happen, because if you work for the facts and figures with our 7,500 coastline and 13 maritime states getting attached to this coast, there is a huge possibility. Our friends have shared that 90% by volume and 70% by value moves through the maritime corridor. And even the cost of logistics have been shared that if you spend 100 rupees on the road, probably you spend 40 rupees on the rail and 15 rupees on the water. This being the case, there is a question that why are we not shifting to the water transport mode? There is a need also. Today, our logistic cost, if you really compare, is too high compared to the other big nations. We are about 13 to 14% of the GDP, where others are at 9 to 10%. And in numbers terms, it is reported that India is losing about $45 billion every year because of this higher logistic cost. And there are a lot of low-hanging fruits which can be plucked to address this. Very fact that our trains, especially goods, still move at sub 30 kilometer average. On the road, you don't get more than 35 kilometers. On the road haul, you are not about 250 kilometers on a day. All this needs to go up. On the train, we have to go up to 70 kilometer average, which DFC would address. And on the roads, we need long haul, for which non-stop, seamless traffic, that you don't get stopped because of Octra and many other regions are also getting addressed through the intervention of the states, as well as the GST regime that is likely to come. And I'm seeing this initiative which Sagarmala has taken, where in modal shift incentivization is being talked about. But the bigger challenge is to have a maritime infrastructure created in our riverfronts. In our bid to address that, sir, we have taken up the Amba River development, and with the help of Maritime Board, we have carried out the dredging of Amba River, wherein so far Amba River has been carrying 2,000 tonners, and we have plans to move an 8,000 tonner in the same river by next June. That calls for that, you see how it brings the economy of scale and possible port-based industrialization that is possible. There was a steel plant which was 3 million and somehow it was running in losses. We took over the steel plant. But now we have a vision to upgrade the steel plant to 10 million, which will throw about 40 million cargo. Immediately our worry was, while we are progressing, there are others also progressing in the region, how much river could take. And we did an extensive study on the river, and we came to know that on a ton-kilometer basis, if we dredge the river to a minus 3.5 CD level and use the tide, we can, on 67% of the time, we can move these 8,000 tonners. That will help in keeping the traffic density at the same level and still handle about 4 to 5 times the cargo that we are handling today. On maritime security front, Chief Bakshi Sahab have addressed that we had concern, and with your intervention now, we have done the security audit that you are mentioning. But there is a regime which needs to be seen, whether how much is postal police and how much is the security corporation of Maharashtra would take over, and overall how this overall cost could be shared. There are many players in that region, and one address is when these 101 rivers are getting notified by the central government as Indian waterways, how do we ensure that this overall cost is passed on to all the players? There was a deliberation in Delhi that what role IWT can take up, whether they should do the river mouth dredging, they should take care of the security, or they should do the BTMS and control the traffic. So we need the deliberation with the state, between the state and the central government to see that how do we keep our rivers navigable and how do we keep them secure. At the moment, there is a lot of threat to the entire investment in that region because everybody comes and jumps and attacks physically. But I'm happy that that is also being addressed. I'm sure that we all know that almost 14% of our population lives in coastal districts, but the maritime states that I mentioned, 13 of them contribute more than 67% to the GDP. And I have this gut feeling now that going forward, this maritime sector will play a very pivotal role. As Sir has mentioned earlier, that we have Secretary, the Railway Minister, and many other top dignitaries who are taking very keen interest in development of the connectivity projects, and the impetus has also come that maritime state ports are also equally important. Earlier, everything was hovering around major ports, but now there is a recognition that it's not a minor port, it is a non-major port, and how do we address and harness the strengths of the non-major ports along with the major ports and address this Sagarmala initiatives in a very concentrated manner. And while we are running these facts, if we also see that we have a challenge of handling 2,500 tons by 2025, there we need to look at what are the 4 major pillars of Sagarmala, which says that the port-led development, which will divide coastal economic zones, but the entire maritime coast is divided into 10 coastal economic zones where port-based industries will be developed, coastal tourism will be developed, and there will be multi-modal logistic parks. And this will align us with Make in India, and I also hope that with shipbuilding subsidy on the angle of getting announced, there will be development of shipbuilding and ship repair. But port infra enhancement is another major pillar of the Sagarmala, where capacity augmentation is being talked about, and a master plan is being developed, as Bantul Sir has said, that, and operational efficiency is being benchmarked at the best. And this is required because we keep, from the private sector, we have thrown a lot of challenges on major ports, that this is how we can handle larger volumes, and now I'm happy that that challenge is being taken up, and mechanization efforts all over in all ports are, all major ports are being taken up in a very serious manner to PPP route. And also, Honorable Minister is very focused on making sure that whichever port can handle Capesize vessel should be dredged. In that matter, I am happy to say that Goa Port has taken this initiative of dredging the Goa Port from 14 to 20 meters, and that RFP process is at the moment on. Ennore Port is going ahead and dredging to 20 more meters. Paradeep has a plan to go to 20 meters. So friends, a lot of positive efforts are happening, which will be visible in next 6 months to 1 year time. But while we have addressed the efficient evacuation modes and all, what we have felt that, sir, that coastal community development is equally important, which Agarmala should address, because we need to have them on board for every effort that we put in. Unless they are around with us, it's not going to happen. And that sustainable model has to be brought in with the skill development and the coastal tourism and the fisheries department working along with us. So, in Maharashtra itself, we are seeing that we can develop Jaigarh port to 65 to 85 million ton capacity, and we can develop the riverine port to 40 million ton capacity, and we are also looking at a possibility of developing another port in Maharashtra. So, sir, from our side, we are sure that we can put up at least 100 million capacity in Maharashtra itself. Thank you very much, friends, for this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Captain Sharma, for throwing light on various issues like basic amenities like road construction and tracks and pipeline corridors, and also sharing with us how JSW is growing in the port sector and competing with public entities like ANPT. Thank you very much for the address. And now here we conclude the inaugural session, and I request Shri Gautam Chatterjee, Additional Chief Secretary, Transport and Ports, Government of Maharashtra, to please present mementos to all our eminent speakers on stage as a token of appreciation and thanks. Sir, I request you. To Mr. K.P. Bakshi, Additional Chief Secretary of Home Department, Government of Maharashtra. Shri Vineet Goenka, Member of Task Force IT, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India. Shri Ravi M. Parmar, Chairman, Mumbai Port Trust. Shri Neeraj Bansal, Deputy Chairman of Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, JNPT. Shri T.S. Balasubramanian, Member Finance and Chairman in Charge, Tariff Authority of Major Ports, Ministry of Shipping, Government of India. Shri Kalpesh Vitlani, Chief General Manager of IT in Gujarat Maritime Board. And last but not the least, Captain B.V. J.K. Sharma, Joint Managing Director of JSW. So as they say, ships are safest at the harbour, but that's not where they're supposed to be. So let the ship sail toward the journey of port-led development. And I also request Mr. K.P. Bakshi to please present a memento to Mr. Chatterjee as a token of thanks and appreciation. And we are really thankful of Mr. Chatterjee for helping us at each and every moment and for creating this summit. And now I request for a group photo to all of our eminent speakers with their mementos. And I request Dr. Ravi Gupta for a vote of thanks. We thank all our partners, all the delegates, all our guests. We thank SAP, we thank Consort, we thank Jawaharlal Nehru Port Trust, Infinium,